Okay, guys, so one thing to point out, this thing that we're looking at, as I mentioned, has the premium technology package, which is why we have this beautiful 10.1-inch screen. Now, if you don't go for the technology package, it will be a smaller Sync3 screen. It's going to be an 8-inch screen instead. But I absolutely love the look of this thing. Now, when the vehicle's first turned on, this is typically the screen you're going to be met with. If for whatever reason it's not this screen, let's say if you're on this one, whatever the case may be, just press the home button at the very bottom, and that's going to take you to this summary screen. So we've got some basic map settings, so our current navigation. If our phone was connected, it would show up. And then we've also got the ability to look at whatever station's playing. So whether it's AM, FM, Sirius, XM, Bluetooth, if our phone was connected, etc., we can switch between songs if we'd like to, or we can also mute the audio directly from the screen. So, having said that, let's jump into our audio settings. So our audio settings at the very top, we can jump between our sources. So our AM, FM, Sirius, XM, Bluetooth, if our phone was connected, it would show up. Now, one thing to note is that if you had certain apps connected on your phone, it would also show up there. I'll show you that in a second. Next up is going to be our basic alerts. So if you have songs that you don't like, you can edit that out, which is kind of nice. We can direct tune as well. So if you want to change to a specific station, so we're on Sirius XM, if you have a station that you prefer, you can select it there. It works the same way. So let's say if we're in our AM or FM instead. So let's go to our FM for a second. We can also direct tune to a station. So we can go 94.9, enter. We've changed that station. So it's very straightforward. And as you can see, we've got some presets on the bottom of the page. In order to set up these presets and save them, whether it's Sirius, XM, AM, FM, whatever the case may be, tune to the station that you want. You're just going to press and hold. And that's going to save that preset for you. Now, jumping into our phone. So as you can see, there's no phone that's currently connected. Connecting a phone is a really straightforward process. So on your cell phone, let's turn the brightness up a little bit. So on your cell phone, what you're going to do is press the Bluetooth button. So make sure your Bluetooth is turned on, and we're going to hit add a phone.
Search for your vehicle on your device and select it once it is found.
Okay, we're going to give that a second, and we're going to see it show up. There we go. So on our phone, so Ford Explorer showing up. So we're just going to press that.
Confirm that the pin displayed on Sync matches the pin displayed on your device.
And as you can see, 332410, so they do match. So we're going to hit yes and pair.
For your safety, please stay alert to changing road conditions and use Sync's voice-activated features while your vehicle is in motion.
There we go. So next one is going to be allow contacts and favorites. Absolutely, we want to do that, so hit yes. Now guys, one thing to point out, it's going to work the same whether you're looking at an iPhone or an Android device. And it's going to say auto download contacts. Absolutely, we want to do that. What that means is whenever the phone's connected, if there are new contacts, it'll update it for you. So I do recommend doing that. And hit finish. And as you can see, we've got a ton of options now. We can look at my recent call list, my contacts, my phone keypad, text messages. So there are a ton of options that are available. Now, one thing I did point out under audio. So if we take a look at sources now, we've now got LiveX Live, and my iPhone has shown up. Now, LiveX Live is an app that I've got on my phone. It's a radio app, so it'd be the same as Spotify. So you can use the app directly through the center console screen, which is an amazing feature to be able to do. Now, in order to be able to remove a phone, all we're going to do is jump into our settings on the bottom right, and we're just going to scroll until we see the phone. So connectivity to our phone, we're going to press that, and we've got a couple options now. So we can either view our devices, set ringtones, roaming warning, but if we go to our view our devices, we can either add in another phone, or we can take a look at my existing. Now we can either disconnect, remove, so let's hit remove, yes, and as you can see, it's gone. So it's really that simple of a process in order to add and take a phone out. And just to show you that it actually is removed, let's jump into phone for a second. Oh, chaos. There we go. So as you can see, the phone is now gone. Now, jumping into our navigation. So like I said, this thing looks absolutely beautiful. I love the setup of it, but this is our navigation in a nutshell. So we've got the ability to search. We've got our home and work favorited addresses. We go to search, we can type in an address. So it's really straightforward and it auto completes. So don't try to hastily type in the whole address. Just slowly start typing and give it a second in between each few letters. The reason why is because it's going to auto-complete for us. So we're just going to select our address, and we can either save it as a favorite if you typically go to that destination frequently, or we can press start in order to navigate the route.
Obey traffic laws, be alert, and use voice commands while driving.
Perfect.
Please proceed to the highlighted route, and then the route guidance will start.
So, nice and simple process there. In order to be able to cancel the route out, we can do that. This would essentially mute so that we don't hear any more warnings from the system. So, cancel route, yes, we want to cancel it, and it's canceled the route out for us, so we can enter in a new address, or we can look through our previously saved addresses. So a couple things to point out in our navigation settings. So if we go to the menu button, that brings us to some basic settings. So we can look and change our street view. We can look at a traffic list. So that's going to take a second to update traffic. So it's essentially a live traffic list, as we can see. So live traffic, which is really, really neat. And moving back into our navigation settings. So navigation settings gives us a ton of options. Our map preferences at the top, as you can see, we've got a ton of things that we can look through. So our 3D city model, the big one is going to be this POI icon. So do we want things like gas stations and coffee shops, things like that showing up? Yes or no? If there's been an accident, do we want that showing on the map as well? Route preferences, also very straightforward. So we can go the fastest, eco-friendly, or the shortest route. And moving down, the big ones here are going to be avoiding freeways, toll roads, ferries and car trains, or tunnels. So if you don't like taking toll roads, you can do that. If you don't like going on the highway, you can also select that as well. And when the vehicle comes up with the route that you're going to be taking, it'll take those preferences into account. Moving back, lastly is going to be our navigation preferences, so our guidance prompts. So those little warnings that we get, do we want voice and tone? So please turn in 200 meters. Do we want that yes or no, whether it's voice and tone, just the voice, or the tone only? And as I mentioned, you can mute that out completely so nothing happens. And we can also look at where am I? We can look at our search history. So if we've gone to a number of different addresses, that would show up. Favorites, point of interest, and then our home and our work address as well. So as you can see, if your home address was set up, this is specifically set up here as well.
Please proceed to the highlighted route, and then the route guidance will start.
So it's really, really cool because we can navigate home either by pressing that button or by pressing the voice command button on the steering wheel. Same thing, we can cancel that one out as well. And that's going to be our navigation. So next up are going to be our apps. So the apps, as you can see, we don't have many apps here. Now, having said that, if my phone was connected, you can use either Android Auto or Apple CarPlay directly through this center console screen. But a couple other things to point out. So LiveX Live, Spotify, things like that, we can control the apps through the middle. We also can use the Waze app directly through the center console screen. Jumping into our settings, so we've got a ton of setting options now. So we can either do hotkey presses in order to jump down, or we can just scroll up and down. So let's start at the very top, which first and foremost are going to be our driver assistant settings. So tons of options. Firstly is going to be our cruise control. So do we want to use adaptive or normal or the intelligent? So very, very different systems. The normal cruise control, that's essentially going to be the one where if you brake, you have to reset. The adaptive cruise control is a set it and forget it cruise control. So let's say if you set it at 120 on the highway, car in front of you slows down, yours will automatically brake as well. If they get out of the way or pick up, yours will automatically get back up to the speed that you had set. Now, intelligent cruise control takes it to the next level. So it's based off of our speed sign recognition as well. So turning that one on, the vehicle's automatically going to adjust your speed based off of whatever the current speed is allowed on that road. So it's a very, very smart system from that perspective. It's really a matter of personal preference if you go the three systems. I personally love the adaptive cruise, so that's typically the one that I go based off of. Lane keeping system's the next one. So our lane keeping system works a couple different ways. So we've got three different modes. We've got either the alert and the aid. So the alert and the aid, so let's actually jump to the alert first. So the alert is a steering wheel shake. So if we start to veer over into a lane without signaling, our steering wheel is going to shake. It's going to feel almost as if we're running over rumble pavement. Our aid is going to recenter us and pull us back into our lane, and our alert and our aid will do both. So it'll recenter us, pull us back into our lane, and give us a little bit of a steering wheel shake. Now the intensity of that shake is a matter of personal preference. So you've got three different modes, so either our high, normal, or low, and that's just going to be the intensity of that shake on the steering wheel. Next up is going to be our pre-collision assist. I do recommend keeping this one on. So a couple of things that we're looking at. So the distance indication is how close are we to a potential collision. You can keep that one off. The big ones are going to be the active braking and the evasive steering. So the active braking, if the vehicle senses a potential collision, it's going to pre-charge the brakes. If you don't respond, it'll brake for you to minimize the collision. If for whatever reason it can't brake, then it's going to take over the steering wheel and pull you out of the way. Again, to either completely avoid or minimize the impact of the collision. And then we can adjust the alert sensitivity as well. So if you want to go a little bit more sensitive to how close before that system starts to activate. Next up is going to be our speed sign recognition. So really, really neat. Activate a speed warning. If we're going a little bit too fast, then it will warn us and let us know. And again, same thing, the tolerance for when it shows up. Nextly is going to be our rear view camera. So rear view camera is going to be, so as you can see, we've got a ton of different settings there. So our enhanced park aid are all of these extras that are going to show up versus just our regular parking. So again, really just a matter of personal preference. This thing's got a 360 camera, so you may as well have it showing everything there. So as we start to back up or as we back up, if we're getting close to an obstacle on the side or the front, it'll let us know. Our blind spot system. So the blind spot system essentially is going to be, let's see, that little guy. So we can just kind of make it out, but it's going to highlight orange. There we go. So that'll highlight orange when somebody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. So I do absolutely recommend keeping the blind spot system on. Next up is going to be our trailer blind spot. So again, I do recommend keeping this one on, especially if you're towing something. So you enter the dimensions of the trailer that you're towing, or the boat, whatever the case may be, and it's going to extend the blind spot range. So if somebody's entered your blind spot in the trailer, it'll highlight orange to let you know that as well. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing that's got that capability. The trailer sway control, very straightforward. We've got our cross traffic alert as well. Cross traffic alert, if a vehicle's coming perpendicular, whether you see it or not, you're going to get a warning letting you know of a potential collision. Reverse brake assist is a beautiful thing. If you're backing up and you don't see an obstacle, you don't hear the beeping, you're distracted, whatever the case may be, if you're going to hit the obstacle, the vehicle will automatically brake for you if you have that brake assist on. So I absolutely recommend keeping that one turned on. Lastly is going to be our driver alert. The driver alert is tied into our lane keeping system. So if we get too many warnings because we're veering over without signaling or starting to go into a lane without signaling, it essentially starts to count up. If we get too many warnings in too short of a period of time, it's going to let us know that we should probably rest. So that's going to be our driver assistance. 911 assist, your phone does need to be connected for 911 assist to work. But guys, this is a beautiful system to have on, because if you get into a collision with your phone connected, the vehicle will automatically dial 911 for you. So I do recommend keeping that one turned on with your phone connected. Oh, there we go, jumping back now, moving into our vehicle settings. So we've got some basic sound settings, so our treble, mid-range, bass, etc. We can tweak those settings from that screen. Our clock setting, by default, is going to be in our 12-hour mode. We can switch to the military time instead. Left-hand side is going to go 1 hour up or down versus our 1 minute up or down. Our daylight savings time adjustment, it's automatically going to spring us forward or fall us back an hour, just depending on the time of year. And our auto time zone update is automatically going to change the time in the vehicle depending on where the vehicle is. So if we're on the West Coast, it's going to move forward as we start driving east, and it's going to automatically update it. So I do recommend keeping that one turned on. Next up, our radio. So we've got a few options. So our preset pages, it's a 2 by default. We can go up to a 6 maximum. Oh, 5 maximum, my mistake. So 5 maximum. So if we've updated that to the 5, did it update to the 5? It did. Okay, so it just took a second to update there. So it's gotten to 5 pages. Now, if we go back to our audio, so we can see we've now got 5 individual pages, so we can have up to 30 presets. Again, a mix of AM, FM, Sirius, or our Sirius XM, etc. And jumping back in, our radio text is what shows up right here. So if you don't want that to show, you can turn it off as well. Into some basic vehicle settings. So basic vehicle settings, how long does the vehicle idle for? So 30-minute max. If you turn that off, it'll continue to idle until you run out of gas. Easy entry exit, what that's going to do is lift the steering wheel up, or it's going to pull the seat back in order for you to be able to get out of the vehicle easier. My Key is a great system. It essentially allows you to set up a key with certain limitations. An example of that limitation was the vehicle might only be able to go up to a certain speed. So you can say with this certain key fob, you can only go 100 kilometers an hour, or the audio doesn't turn on unless your seatbelt's turned on. They're plugged in, I should say. So it's a really, really great system if you're doing it for kids, or if you want to play a prank on a spouse, you could absolutely do that there as well. Onboard modem serial number, very straightforward. This thing does have a built-in modem, which gives us the ability to use the vehicle as a wireless hotspot. Remote start setup. When the vehicle's remote started, we can turn it off completely so it won't do remote start. But what happens when it's remote started? Automatically lets the vehicle determine what the cabin temperature should be, or we can go based off of our last settings. So what were your settings before you turn the vehicle off last? Seats and wheel, when we remote start the vehicle, is it going to automatically turn those on as well? So is it going to turn our heated or cooled seats on as well, and our heated steering wheel? And then the duration of the remote start. So how long does it last for? So is it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 15 minutes? Okay, and our windows now. So windows, remote open. Let's hop outside the vehicle to figure out how that system works. Now, in order to roll down the windows using the key fob, what we're going to do is press this unlock button twice. On the second unlock, we're going to hold. So 1, 2, and hold. There we go. So as you can see, it has rolled those front 2 windows down for us. Very straightforward there. So it's remote open for the down, but you do have to manually lift them back up. I guess not manually with your hands, but by pressing the window buttons. All right, next up is going to be our wipers. So courtesy wipe, I do recommend keeping that one off. And the reason why is because when the vehicle's first started, it's going to wipe once. Definitely keep that one off, I should say, especially if you're in colder climates, snowy climates, etc. Because if you've got snow or ice buildup on the window there and it goes to courtesy wipe, you're probably going to mess up the motor. Looking at our rain sensing wipers, that's automatically going to adjust the speed of the windshield wipers depending on how wet the window is. So very, very beautiful there. And we've also got the ability to turn our reverse wiper on or off. Next up is going to be our power liftgate. So the outside switch, we can either enable or disable it. And then we've got some basic lighting settings. So when we get into lighting, it's how long, do the auto high beams turn on? I do recommend keeping the auto high beam setting on. What that's going to do, it's automatically going to flip the high beams on for you if you're driving at night. And if the vehicle senses an oncoming vehicle, it's automatically going to start dimming before turning the lights off completely. So I do recommend keeping that one on. Our auto lamp delay, when we lock the vehicle and turn it off, is that the auto lamp, is it automatically going to turn off, or does it stay on for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, or 120 seconds? And moving down, we've now got some lock settings. So our basic lock settings are going to be things like the mist lock, our auto unlock, etc. So you can kind of play around with that one. When we remote unlock, do all doors get unlocked or just the driver's door? So again, matter of personal preference. And scrolling down again, we've got some basic mirror settings. So the auto fold. So when our vehicle is locked, it's automatically going to fold in the side view mirrors. And moving down, last one is going to be our door keypad code. So there's a 5-digit factory number that's going to be there as a default. You can set up additional codes either through the center screen or you can do it on the side door instead, so the driver's door. Okay, those are our basic vehicle settings. Oh, not too quick. There we go. Some general settings now. So general settings, we can change the language, English, Spanish, French, Celsius or Fahrenheit, kilometers and liters per 100, or we can go miles per gallon. Tire pressure, the beeping that we're getting. We can turn that beeping off by pressing this button. And the last one to point out really is going to be our reset. So if for whatever reason the Ford Pass app is giving you troubles, or if you're selling the vehicle, the screen is giving you troubles, just do a master reset. It's going to reset it to our factory defaults. Next one is going to be our display. So we've got a big, beautiful display, so you can turn the display off completely, press it in order to turn it back on again. Press. There we go. All right. Going back into our display, we've also got a calming screen instead. Same thing. We're just going to press to turn that back on. Jumping there. So display again, we've got a few options. So we can change the background, change the brightness, or go between different modes. So it's in our auto mode, which means the vehicle's automatically going to determine if it's daytime or nighttime mode. And that's going to depend on how bright it is outside. But if we look at the nighttime mode, I'm personally a big fan of this one just because we'll look at it. I think it looks absolutely beautiful. Give it a second to update. Look at that blue. I love it. It looks amazing. But again, matter of personal preference. You can keep it in the auto setting. It is automatically going to flip between that daytime or that nighttime mode, again just depending on how bright it is outside. Takes a second to update and go there we go. All right, jumping back, now we've got our valet mode as well. So the valet mode essentially locks this system out. So if we enter a 4-digit combination, so something nice and difficult like 1 2 3 4, don't use 1 2 3 4, use something a little bit more challenging. But what it does is it locks the screen out. So nobody can look through any sort of settings that you've got. If your phone's connected, they can't look through your contacts, text messages, things like that, until you re-enter that 4-digit number again. Now you can change it every time. You don't have to use the same 4-digit combination every time. Next one is going to be our ambient lighting. So ambient lighting are going to be lights on the inside of the vehicle. So if we take a look down, let's jump down. So as you can see, we've got our cup lighting there. So we've got the ability to select what light shows up. So whether it's blue, we've got the ability to select a green, a yellow, an orange, a pink, etc. So you've got the ability to change that. just in this center cluster screen. So once you've got the light that you'd like, you can save it. All you're going to do is hit back and you're locked into place there. Next up is going to be our navigation settings, which again, we've already covered off when we went to our navigation there. And we've got our seats. Oh yes, the fun and exciting seats. So one thing that I did not point out in this thing is that it's got massage seats. Oh, it's so damn nice as well. So you've got a couple different options as well. So you've got low, medium, or high settings, low rolling, upper rolling, circulation. It is beautiful. Where this really comes into play is if you're doing distance driving. So essentially it's going to massage your lower back and your hamstrings as well, which is absolutely beautiful, because what that means is you don't necessarily have to stop for brakes that much anymore, because it's going to massage your hamstrings and your lower back for you. In order to turn it off, we're just going to go back to the driver or passenger side and just hit adjust. And what that's going to do, what's happening? Chaos. Seats and adjust. There we go. So when we hit that adjust setting, that's what should have happened. And essentially it's going to cancel out the massage seat and bring us back to our regular defaults. And that's going to be the same for the driver or passenger side to turn the massage chair seats on or off. And as we scroll down, now we've got our connectivity settings. So our basic Bluetooth settings, we can turn Bluetooth on or off, or we can add in a device, whether that's a cell phone or a Bluetooth enabled MP3 player. We can add in a phone. Now our Ford Pass Connect, so it can do a couple things. So you've got the ability to remote start the vehicle from your phone with Ford Pass Connect enabled. And with Ford Pass Connect enabled as well, it also essentially works as a hotspot. So you do need a data plan, a separate data plan set up, but you've got the ability to use it as a hotspot for up to 10 devices, which is amazing, especially if you've got kids in the back that, they like to complain that they want to play on Wi-Fi. You've got the ability to do that now. And having said that, we've got our Wi-Fi settings with automatic updates. So as these things really go hand in hand, where it comes into play is you should have Wi-Fi on, especially when you're at home, because with automatic updates turned on, it's automatically going to update the vehicle settings for you. So it's going to update the software and the firmware, with the exception of the navigation. Navigation still has to be done manually, either when you bring your vehicle in for service, or you can download the updated map file online. Mobile apps, there are certain apps that work through the center console screen. Waze, Spotify, LiveX Live, things like that are all going to work through the center console. Now, the last two, as you can see, we've got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay capabilities. So we've got the ability to turn that on, which is absolutely amazing. So I do recommend playing with that setting a little bit, but it works incredibly well, essentially mirroring your phone onto your center screen. Next up is going to be our voice control settings. So we've got the advanced mode on. I'm going to turn it off for a second for you, and I want you to listen for a sec. Tune to 97.7.
Tuning to FM 97.7.
Okay, so if you heard that, we did get a little message letting us know that it's tuning. So if we turn the advanced mode on and try that again. Tune to 94.9. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But if we look, it has changed the station for us. So the idea behind that advanced mode, it essentially makes sure that we don't have as many notifications and warnings as we go. Next up is going to be our phone confirmation. So phone confirmation when we're making a phone call. Do we want to connect to that person? So would you like to dial such and such person? Yes or no. Lastly is going to be our voice command list. So when we press the voice command button on the steering wheel, this is the command list. So whether or not that shows up is a matter of personal preference. And that's going to be the basics of our screen.